Hey everybody, it's good to be with you this evening. Sean, I want to thank you because you always have a way of convening and bringing folks together.
On Monday, a grand jury indicted him on multiple federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion.
Picture this. It's April 2020, and Sean Diddy Combs is on your screen, flanked by Vice President Kamala Harris and AOC, discussing the impact of COVID-19 on Black America. Combs is praised for his leadership, his ability to unite people, his passion for his community's success. Now, fast forward to today. The same man once applauded by political leaders stands accused of running a criminal enterprise involving sexual abuse and exploitation. This is the story of how Diddy's image transformed from a beacon of hope to a symbol of betrayal, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and shattered trust. It soon became clear that Black neighborhoods were being disproportionately affected by COVID-19 as it spread across the United States in early 2020. Death rates skyrocketed, and the urgency of taking immediate action increased daily. Sean Diddy Combs, a surprising figure in hip-hop and business, stepped forward to lead during this crisis. Diddy's virtual town hall on April 9th, 2020 would propel him to prominence as a community advocate. Attendees at the event, State of Emergency, the State of Black America and Coronavirus, included prominent politicians, activists, and medical professionals. Among the prominent guests who spoke up for the cause were Senators Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Reverend Al Sharpton. The town hall covered important topics that Black Americans faced during the pandemic, like as economic hardships and healthcare inequities.
Pandemic jumping on top of multiple epidemics already in our community. And somebody needed to step up and sound the alarm.
Hey everybody, it's good to be with you this evening. Sean, I want to thank you because you always have a way of convening and bringing folks together.
Diddy received a lot of appreciation for his ability to bring together such powerful people and lead an insightful conversation. The future Vice President Kamala Harris praised Diddy's leadership, stating, "I want to thank you, Diddy, for bringing us together." This is an example of leadership. In a similar vein, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez expressed appreciation for the platform that Diddy had established. She remarked at the event, "Thank you for uniting us all and elevating the voices of Black Americans at this time." Even further, the Reverend Al Sharpton praised Diddy as a vital voice in the struggle against racial injustice. Sharpton proclaimed, "We're going to have to stand together and fight," placing Diddy at the vanguard of this conflict.
I had a chance to spend time with Diddy. The passion and the love that this brother has for our survival, for our success, for our thriving, and our growth is unmatched.
But it couldn't have been a more timely way of bringing us together. And I really love him.
It was evident from the town hall that Diddy was trying to establish himself as more than just a businessman or music magnate. He was becoming a prominent figure in the community, addressing urgent social concerns with his connections and influence. Diddy's reputation as a well-respected Black American advocate appeared to be cemented by the event's success and the overwhelming support from political officials. The town hall had an immediate and significant effect. It spurred discussions regarding the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on Black communities and racial disparities in healthcare. Diddy's initiatives were praised as an excellent illustration of how celebrities can use their platforms to further social causes. His reputation as a community leader was further cemented in the months that followed as he persisted in speaking out on racial concerns.
And just for using this platform in this way, just grateful for a vehicle and a platform to be unapologetically Black.
Let me first thank Diddy for convening us. And
be selfish, finally, for our communities. I call Al Pops, if y'all don't know, that's my Pops right there.
But in a surprising turn of events, Diddy's meticulously constructed public image would soon start to fall apart. Senators and congresswomen had hailed the guy as a champion for his community, and now he would be the target of grave accusations. Sean Diddy Combs would go from being praised as a COVID hero to being accused of predatory behavior in a span of only 3 years. Public praise frequently conceals inner turmoil. A ticking time bomb of accusations was poised to detonate as Diddy was being celebrated as a neighborhood hero. What could make such a well-known person practically instantly a pariah? Early in 2024, only months before his startling arrest, Sean Diddy Combs was the subject of the first rumors of wrongdoing. Diddy's decline from prominence was both sudden and quick, considering he had previously performed on the same stage as future Vice President Kamala Harris.
Combs has denied any wrongdoing. He is currently jailed in New York as he awaits his criminal trial.
The accusations that surfaced presented a troubling picture that contrasted sharply with his meticulously maintained persona as a COVID-19 activist and community leader. According to early allegations, Combs had been enticing male sex workers and female victims into drug-fueled sex acts known as freak-offs. Accusators claimed that these incidents frequently persisted for days and put participants in precarious situations. The charges sent shockwaves through the entertainment world and beyond, hitting the media like a bombshell. Additional information that significantly damaged Diddy's reputation surfaced as the accusations intensified. According to the indictment, victims were frequently lured in with the promise of a love relationship only to be drugged to keep them obedient and compliant.
The indictment alleges that Combs abused and exploited women and other people for years, and in a variety of ways. Used the embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victim.
A major change in public opinion resulted from the sharp contrast between Diddy's public image and the gravity of the charges. The allegations' timing demonstrates a slow but steady escalation. What started out as whispers soon gathered steam, turning into official accusations and a public indictment. New accusers surfaced every week, strengthening the mounting case against the music tycoon. Diddy responded quickly but ultimately ineffectively to these growing accusations. Although Diddy may be an imperfect person, his legal team publicly complained about the prosecution, claiming that Diddy was not a criminal. Despite their emphasis on his cooperation with the probe, they were unable to stop the public's sentiment from shifting against him. The charges persisted in spite of his denials and efforts to keep his reputation intact. Increasing skepticism about celebrity endorsements in politics and the perils of elevating public figures to a pedestal was reflected in the media's abrupt change in Diddy's portrayal from a revered icon to an accused predator. It was evident that Diddy's empire was starting to fall apart as the accusations mounted and public scrutiny increased. Once respected by community activists and political leaders, the man was now at the heart of a criminal probe that threatened to topple all he had worked so hard to achieve. Image is crucial in the hip-hop industry. However, the distinction between perception and reality was about to become hazy on that spring day in 2024 when federal officials surrounded Diddy's opulent mansions. What commonplace objects would suddenly change from being harmless to incriminating when found in large quantities? Diddy Combs' mansions in Miami and Los Angeles were raided, shocking the music business. His residences were raided by federal officials with an air of urgency that indicated that they were pursuing something significant rather than merely looking for proof. Teams of detectives searched every square inch of Diddy's opulent residences in an unparalleled extent. The actual nature of the probe became apparent as the search progressed. Agents were assembling a troubling puzzle of suspected sex trafficking, not merely searching for financial documents or drug caches. Hollywood and beyond would be rocked by what they discovered. 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant were among the most shocking finds. In any other setting, these objects might appear inconspicuous. However, they assumed a darker meaning in the context of the accusations made against Diddy. These commonplace items were suddenly possible proof in drugged-up sexual performances that prosecutors dubbed freak-offs, and which reportedly entailed violence and coercion. In court filings, the phrase freak-offs was used to describe incidents in which Diddy was charged with kicking, beating, and dragging people. The enormous amount of baby oil and lubricant abruptly created a startling and striking image of the scope and regularity of these purported interactions. The findings, however, did not end there. 3 AR-15 firearms were also found by federal officials, which raises serious concerns about the possibility of violence and intimidation in Diddy's environment.
More lawsuits against music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
These firearms and ammunition, including 3 defaced AR-15s and a large capacity drum magazine.
The accusations were made much more dangerous by the existence of these powerful weapons, which raised the possibility that victims may have been subjected to physical as well as psychological intimidation. The investigation became more intense as word spread about the raids. What had begun as rumors and accusations had developed into a full-fledged federal case supported by indisputable physical proof. The objects discovered during the raids greatly intensified the investigation's focus, suggesting a possible pattern of illegal illegal activity that extended well beyond individual events. Following these revelations, Sean Diddy Combs was promptly the subject of formal accusations and an arrest warrant. The music mogul's legal team was disappointed, saying Diddy had cooperated during the inquiry and that the prosecution was unfair. However, given the growing body of data, their statements seemed inconsequential. Federal prosecutors were ready to reveal a network of allegations so complex and unsettling that they would dwarf the original discovery, while the public was still reeling from the raid disclosures. To what extent did Diddy's purported illicit enterprise actually extend? The answer arrived in the shape of a shocking 14-page indictment on September 16th, 2024. Once hailed by political elites for his service in the community, Sean Diddy Combs was now facing charges of operating a criminal organization for decades. In addition to being numerous, the grand jury's allegations were shocking. The most common ones, which depicted systemic abuse and exploitation, were sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy.
Disgraced rapper Sean Combs facing 2 new sex abuse lawsuits as he sits in a jail in New York City.
On Monday, a grand jury indicted him on multiple federal charges, including racketeering conspiracy, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion.
The so-called freak-offs, and which prosecutors said were much more diabolical than parties, were at the center of the accusation. The paper claims that Combs enticed male sex workers and female victims into these drug-fueled, frequently day-long sexual acts. The enormous amounts of lubricant discovered during the raids, which suggested the scope of these activities, suddenly became more apparent. However, the freak-offs were only the first part of the story. The entertainment business was rocked by the indictment, which exposed a practice of violence and intimidation. Combs was charged with beating, kicking, and dragging his victims, among other acts of physical violence. With these charges, the AR-15 firearms found during the raids assumed a more sinister meaning. The accusations of Combs' continued power over his victims were possibly the most horrifying. According to the accusation, he threatened to ruin jobs and livelihoods if participants didn't comply with his requests, using his industry influence as a weapon. If this misuse of authority turns out to be accurate, it would be a serious violation of the faith that his followers and the general public have in him. Diddy's legal team rushed to reply to these devastating accusations. They said in a statement that they were extremely disappointed in the prosecution and that it was unfair. Diddy's attorney argued he is an imperfect person but is not a criminal, highlighting Combs' collaboration with law enforcement prior to the accusations. However, their remarks seemed hollow in the face of such grave charges. When Diddy was ordered to be imprisoned without bail pending trial, the seriousness of the issue became evident. The man who used to hang out with senators and prospective vice presidents now faced the possibility of spending years in prison. As word got out, the repercussions started to go well beyond Diddy and sparked concerns about deliberate ignorance and involvement in the entertainment sector.